What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents. This story's called, I Know You! You're the owner of Amazon! No, I'm not. You guys have been asking for it, so for today's video, I thought, why not tell you all a little entitled parent story of my own? Yes, this is me, Redditor, writing. What I've got for you is an interesting tale that makes me question everything about my country's education system. Still, to this day, I cannot work out how someone as stupid as the lady I'm about to tell you about actually exists. A little background to provide some necessary context. In the UK, in order to pass your driving test, you must first complete a theory exam before you are allowed to have a go at the practical, the driving test proper. This story takes place at a theory test center in which our Karen was an employee. To set the scene, myself and a friend of mine, Jeff, were both in the process of becoming licensed drivers about a year ago. As a result, we decided to book into the same slot at the same location to hopefully both pass our theory tests. Spoiler alert, we did pass, but as you will see, that is wholly irrelevant for the story. We enter the building, a horrible, run-down establishment in the outskirts of a small town, and we are immediately met by the following. Karen, barking like a Rottweiler. IDs? I barely had time to open the door. For those of you that don't know, you need to hold a provisional license in order to apply for a full driver's license. This is what this Karen was asking for, although both Jeff and I really didn't hear her. She was across the other side of the room with a voice so raspy it sounded like she had smoke stuck in her lungs. I said IDs! This time we heard her and hurried to pass them over, a little flummoxed by the current situation. Upon reflection, her manner was perhaps to be expected. The job that she has is an unfulfilling one, very low pay and exceptionally boring. She basically has to sign in candidates all day before they do their test. She looked to be in her late 30s and was clearly run down and tired of life. It wouldn't surprise me if I found out she had been working in this test center for the past decade, but that does not excuse what happened next. I passed my ID over and she signed me in, without saying a word. Then, Jeff handed his over and she did the same. But before handing it back, she did a double take. Jeff leaned in to take his ID, but suddenly stood up, a little starstruck. Oh my god, it's really you? What on earth are you doing here? Doing my theory test? That is crazy! I would have thought for sure you knew how to drive by now, given who you are. Sorry, am I missing something? I do apologize if we met before, but I don't believe that I know you. Of course you don't know me. You're far too important for that. Okay? Is this a joke? I'm just here to do my theory test. Please, could you tell me who you think I am? Oh, come on. Everyone knows who you are. You're the owner of Amazon. At this point, Jeff and I burst out laughing. This woman was actually serious. She thought my mate was Jeff Bezos. Are you joking? Look at his ID again. The lady looks at Jeff's ID again, but her expression remains unchanged. She still looks shell-shocked. What do you mean? This is incredible! The real Jeff Barnholt taking a theory test in London! What a coincidence! It was at this point where I realized that this wasn't just a mistake. This woman was actually stupid. Alright, come on lady, I think it's pretty clear that I'm not the owner of Amazon. I mean, first of all, his name is Jeff with a J, and mine is Jeff with a G. And secondly, we have entirely different surnames. Mine is Barnholt. The owner of Amazon is called Jeff Bezos. Not to mention that I'm a 20-year-old kid from the UK trying to pass his driving test, whereas Mr. Bezos is about 50 years old from America. This is where the story gets weird and things take a turn for the worse. I get it, everyone makes mistakes and there are a lot of cases of mistaken identity, but this Karen, instead of admitting her error, she said this instead. Oh, stop lying. I know exactly who you are, as does everyone else in this room. There were literally two other people, another employee and another candidate. Actually, you know what? Since you're the owner of a huge company, do you happen to have any spare change? You must be like a billionaire or something. The least you could do is, I don't know, $1,000? 1,000 pounds. We were gobsmacked. Look, I'm clearly not Jeff Bezos, but let me just prove it to you. Jeff begins to open his bag. I presumed to get his phone out to look up a picture of Jeff Bezos to show this idiot, but of course Karen finds a way to stop him. No electronic devices allowed in this building or you will be
disqualified.
I must say, given that she believed she was speaking to the owner of one of the biggest companies in the world, she was exceptionally rude. Also, she was utterly incorrect with this statement. You aren't allowed your phones during the actual exam, for obvious reasons, but before and afterwards, you can do whatever you like with them. Alright, I know that's just not true. All I'm doing is getting a picture of the real Jeff Bezos so I can pass my test and get out of here. So Jeff gets his phone out, except it wasn't his phone. It was his tablet. Big mistake. It was an Amazon Fire. Alright, so I'm just gonna look up the real Jeff Karen sees his tablet and interrupts him.
See, I knew it. You are the owner. No wonder you have a fire.
Jeff knew at this point he was beaten. He started to protest, but then held his tongue. I think he knew by now that there was no winning. This lady was clearly insane and there was nothing he could do to make her change her mind. I was still absolutely bemused by the whole situation. Bear in mind, this was first thing in the morning and I was half asleep. I nearly pinched myself to check I wasn't dreaming, but the pain in my eardrums from the following outburst quickly confirmed that this was unfortunately really happening.
You're lying to me because you don't want to give me any money.
At this point, I literally went and sat down. I figured this was probably going to be loud and last a while, and I was done with this lady's stupidity at this point. No, for God's sake, just listen. Then all of a sudden, Karen starts to get upset.
People like you don't understand. I work 70 hours in this cold to provide for my daughter. I'm a single mom and my girl is only 7. I barely make enough to buy her milk. Why are the rich always so selfish? Look, I don't want to say this, but my daughter is severely disabled and really needs the money. I can't keep looking after her all by myself with my current financial situation. We need to take her to a hospice, and the least you could do is give me some cash to enable us to do so. What is it to you anyway? It would literally save her life.
I'm genuinely so sorry to hear that, and I wish I could help, but please believe me, I'm not who you think I am. I go back over to the desk to help comfort the lady and support my friend. Look, you have to believe him. If he had any money to help you out, he would, but we're just 20-year-olds looking to pass our test. I am so sorry to hear about your daughter, and I wish you the best of luck with dealing with her disability. Actually, I'm hoping to run the London Marathon next year, and I would love to raise some money for a charity. Which disability does your daughter have, and which charity would be the optimal one to support? At this point, Karen storms out of the room crying. Her colleague, an elderly gentleman who had so far been anonymous, spoke up for the first time.
Take notice of her, lads. It's not worth it. I've dealt with this ever since I started working here a year or so ago. Yes, she does have a daughter, but other than that, everything she had just told you is untrue. She isn't disabled, she isn't a single mother, and she really doesn't need the money. Now, let me sign you both in so you can sit your test.
Shocked, we handed our IDs to this kind man, sat our test, and got the heck out of there. To be honest, I am quite surprised we both passed. I was certainly not focused during the exam, and I'm sure Jeff's mind was all over the place. But we left, and that was it. Never did we hear of this Karen again. What started as a funny case of mistaken identity turned into something rather shocking and deeply troubling. How sad must this lady's life be to lie about her child in order to try and get some money off of someone? Soon after this car crash of an event, I realized why she stormed out when I asked her for the best charity to support my marathon attempt. She had no idea at all and knew she was rumbled. What a disgusting human. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give the marathon a go this summer as I dislocated my ankle in April playing football, which stopped me from being able to train sufficiently. However, this was a blessing in disguise in many ways, as it now gives me the opportunity to ask you guys for any charities you may know that I can raise some money for. Please leave your comments below this post or in the comments of the video of some lesser known charities that do some great work and could do with some help. Thanks. So that's the end of that one. If you have any further questions, I'll be happy to answer them below. It's been nice to provide a story of my own on the subreddit, and I hope you've enjoyed it. What a stand-up guy. But y'all, if you're working 70 hours a week, you need to change something. This is just my opinion, but I really don't care what it is that you guys do, but working 70 hours a week is just not worth it. Especially if you're not making that much money. And even if you are making some good money, think about it. You're abandoning your family. You're not giving yourself any time to relax, because that's a lot of time. Especially if you're not making that much money from working that much, there are plenty of jobs that you can do where you can make more money for less time. And if not, maybe go to a trade school or a college. Trade school jobs, they pay pretty decently. And if you are making a ton of money, what's the point if you can't even use it? And if you've got a family, your family's more important than 70 hours of work a week. Come on. This story's called Entitled Mother Almost Kills a Kid for Not Handing Over His Xbox. Okay, first of all, this happened to a friend of mine who gave me permission to post this. I was there for the first part. Here's the cast. Friend, told from his point of view, so I will be using me and I.
Entitled mother, ungrateful bastard.
Police officer.
Alright, this happened about a year ago. I, my friend, had a party with a couple of my friends, including OP. It was a fun party. We played lots of games, such as Grog. Google it if you don't know it. At a local church, we had permission to use for this. We gave it a kind of Stranger Things setup with the dim light hallways with strobe lights. We also had someone in the sound box playing creepy sounds and music, and sometimes announcing clues. Apparently, an entitled mother of the church was in the church and didn't like the game we were playing. She went up to friends' parents and said hello politely enough, so I didn't know this would be an entitled parent story. She asked what game we were playing and we said Grog. She didn't know what that was, so we said, Google it. She did, and then said,
Did you get permission from the church to play here?
Oh boy, here we go. We said yes, and she said,
I don't think you do. This game is not appropriate for a church setting.
First, none of your business, lady, and second, don't make accusations based on only your bias. We said that, yes, we have permission, and what about Grog makes it inappropriate?
It has absolutely nothing to do with Jesus, and monsters are against Christianity, so you need to stop playing now or I'll call the police.
Okay, like, seriously, not only is that absolutely stupid, but the police won't be appreciative of getting an emergency call about how a group of teenagers are playing games that don't involve Jesus at church. We knew this, so I just said, not all games have to involve Jesus Christ in them. We ignored her until we went back to Friend's house. It turns out, Entitled Mother had followed us to Friend's place and knocked on the door. Friend's dad opened it, and there was Entitled Mother and her ungrateful bastard.
Hello, can I help you?
He said. She ignored him and allowed herself inside. So now, she walks over to where Friend and a friend are having their round in a video game tournament. She sees this and exclaims loudly,
You can't play that! You can't even play non-screen related games without undermining the laws of God!
Okay, what? How is playing Grog undermining the laws of God? And why does this deem you unworthy to play the Xbox? Friend turns around and says, I'm sorry, what? It's not my fault if you don't like the games we play. You don't have to worry about that. And before you say that was rude, this lady ignored a question and allowed herself to enter a house without permission and yelled at the inhabitants for playing video games.
You don't get to play games if they are not appropriate for church, and they should be taken and given to a responsible child like mine.
Ungrateful bastard is whining and crying that he wants the Xbox. There is more talking and yelling about how her kid needs the Xbox and how he's such a grateful little boy, while he screams that he needs the Xbox because their Xbox 360 isn't good enough. Eventually, Entitled Mother unplugs the console and tries to take it. Friend grabs on as well as us. Entitled Mother is still yelling until we manage to pry the console from her grip. Friend's mom yells at Entitled Mother and Ungrateful Bastard to leave their house or they will call the police. Entitled Mother was so mad, she grabbed her metal water bottle from her purse and started trying to slam it into Friend's head at top speed. Repeatedly. She's still screaming, Friend is bleeding from constantly being beaten in the forehead with thick metal, and finally Friend's mom and dad call 911 reporting child abuse, assault, and trespassing. Entitled Mother is still so mad she takes her purse with everything in it, including the water bottle, and tries to whack the already bleeding Friend. she lands a particularly heavy blow on Friend's arm. The next thing we know, Friend is on the ground and her arm is mishappen like it had been broken. We're holding back entitled mother, who is still trying to whack Friend's head. Ungrateful bastard is trying to punch us in the genitals, though he was like 7 and didn't know how to punch, or how to deal with much older beings trying to hold back their parent trying to break every bone in their friend's body. Eventually, police officer comes in with other officers and asks what's going on. Entitled mother wails that people try to assault her child, who's trying to hit us. We say our story and show Friend, who we are saying needs medical transport. Police officer calls an ambulance and asks if we have anything concrete. Entitled mother says her child saw it all and he nodded. Friend's mother, still livid from the attack, tells police officer they had video surveillance. Entitled mother calls her bluff. She was wrong. After witnessing the footage, the police ask Friend's mom and dad if they wanted to press charges. They said absolutely. Last I checked, I have no idea if she went to court, though I don't know if she was stupid enough to pay for someone to defend her in that case. So yeah, maybe entitled mother didn't almost kill Friend, but she severely injured him and tried to kill him, which, by the way, attempted murder was one of the charges. Side note, people have been questioning why the parents did nothing. They didn't. I just thought it wasn't that important because they did the same stuff we did. Okay, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I have absolutely nothing to say about this. Wow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.